Something happened in April that every IT leader should know about, and most don't. We crossed a threshold. For the first time, an AI model autonomously discovered thousands of zero-day vulnerabilities, not with human guidance, just given a code base and a task. That model is called Claude Mythos, and Anthropic decided not to release it publicly. That decision alone should tell you everything. Hey guys, Alex Ryals here from MicroAge. Well, the world has forever changed, again, which is something I feel like I'm saying almost monthly now as we travel down this new AI road together. The current frontier models have exceeded expectations, and they put IT leaders into an interesting and compromising situation. I wonder if you know about it. What I want to do today is explain what's going on with some of the latest frontier AI models and what we should be thinking about doing in IT as a result of it. Now, let's start out with Anthropic's Project Mythos. Hopefully you've heard about this by now, but just to summarize, Project Mythos is the latest frontier model by Anthropic. And they thought it was just going to be a follow-on to most likely the Opus line of models, but it turns out Mythos has an interesting capability. It can discover vulnerabilities in source code and even write the exploit to it. Now, former models could do this, but Mythos is doing it on an entirely different scale. Let me give you a couple of examples. The Mozilla Foundation, which is an open source foundation who writes the Firefox web browser, they did a scan of their source code using the Anthropic Opus 4.6 model maybe 6 months ago, and they found 2 critical vulnerabilities. Now, this is code that's scanned by tens of thousands of people throughout the many 20 years, and so to find 2 additional critical vulnerabilities is a good thing. So they quickly patched them and released them with a Firefox update. But then when they got access to Mythos a few months ago, they scanned the code base and they found 247 new vulnerabilities in the code. Now, not all of them were critical vulnerabilities, of course, but these were vulnerabilities nonetheless in a source code base that's been scanned by humans and other machine tools for many, many years. Mythos is just different. Here's 2 more examples. So there's an operating system that's open source called OpenBSD that's been around for many years, probably 30 plus years. Mythos scanned that open source project and found a 27-year-old TCP remote execution bug. This is in code that's been out in the public in the wild forever, 27 years. Who knows what threat actors might already know about that vulnerability and have been using it for part of that time. But Mythos found it when humans couldn't. It also found a 17-year-old NFS vulnerability in FreeBSD, which is another open source operating system project. So Mythos seems to be different in its ability to find vulnerabilities, but also write the patch to fix it or the exploit to compromise it. So what did Anthropic do? Well, I'm very excited to share that Anthropic was very responsible in their disclosure. They decided not to release Mythos to the world yet. Instead, they created a project called Project Glasswing, and they had 12 founding members. These are some of the largest code development shops in the world. This is Microsoft, this is Cisco, this is the Mozilla Foundation, this is Linux Foundation, who writes the Linux operating system. They're trying to get ahead of the game and give these companies the chance to scan their code, develop patches, release the patches, and have people deploy those patches before threat actors get access to the power of something like Mythos and start exploiting all sorts of applications in the wild. So what is our responsibility in this? Well, we're going to have to apply those patches, right? But it turns out Mythos is not the only model out there. Microsoft has responded with a new project they call codenamed MDASH. Now, it's an acronym, and it stands for Multi-Model Agentic Scanning Harness. It's not a model in the sense that Mythos is an AI model. It's really a harness that can connect to multiple models. In fact, there's over 100 agents as part of MDASH that will do things like scan your source code, argue with each other over whether the issue they found is actually serious or not, write patches, write exploits potentially, show prototypes of the vulnerability, and then incorporate all the fixes back into the source code process as part of the software development lifecycle process. So MDASH is supposed to be more powerful than Anthropic's Mythos solution in that it's a whole orchestration engine for software development. OpenAI, not to be outdone, has Daybreak, which is also supposed to launch soon, which is similar to MDASH in that it's a whole orchestration engine for reimagining software development using AI to find vulnerabilities, patch vulnerabilities, all as part of the development cycle. This is a whole new world. I've been a developer for 25 years and it's blowing my mind. Yesterday, I sat down with my son-in-law for just an hour and we coded up an entire web application using Claude Code. It's just a new world. So what are we supposed to do as a result as IT leaders or people in IT? How do we respond to a world where we have tools like Mythos, tools that threat actors will have access to that might compromise your environments? I've got 4 ideas for you I'd like you to consider. The first is we have to assume that threat actors have access to tools like Mythos or MDASH or Daybreak. Your patch window has to now be measured in hours, not weeks. Microsoft Forever's had Patch Tuesday where they release up to 100 patches some weeks. But we're gonna have to start thinking differently about how we apply these patches. Over the next year, as more organizations get access to Mythos through Glasswing, or maybe they launch it publicly at some point, there's gonna be a lot of threat actors who are using it to create exploits, and there's gonna be even more companies who wrote the code that are applying patches that you now have to deploy. Are you prepared for that? So I want you to think about 3 concepts here in this area. Number 1, continuous vulnerability scanning. An annual pen test isn't good enough anymore. We need tools that are going to continuously scan our environment so we can apply the right patches based on the vulnerabilities we find. And it's got to be done within hours. So most companies don't have systems in place to do it quite that way. Automating your patch pipeline has to be different. But in order to do that, you need to understand your assets in your environment. And I would tell you that asset discovery and asset management tools are going to be critical to first understand what devices, what applications, what firmware do you have out in the wild in your environment, what versions are they on, what vulnerabilities apply to each version, and then how would you patch those? It's a whole new way to think about our IT environment. Number 2, AI-powered defense must match the AI-powered offense that we're facing. In the short term, I believe that offensive threat actors will probably have the upper hand here. There's so many applications out in the wild. They're gonna be able to scan those applications, find vulnerabilities, create the exploit in a matter of hours, and then launch those exploits into the wild far before application owner can find that vulnerability, patch it, get the patch out, all of the world see the patch, deploy the patch. So for a while, we're going to be at a deficit. But there's a future, fast forward 5 to 10 years, when code that's developed is going to be just developed securely without very many vulnerabilities because AI will have been helping in the development cycle. It's going to be a different type of development. But for now, we're going to have a deluge of patches and you have to be prepared to deploy them. I also want you to think about other AI tools here. MDR, Managed Detection and Response. SIM Solutions, Security Information and Event Management. These are tools that go in a SOC, a Security Operations Center, that 24/7 environment that monitors all your security incidents. Are you thinking about tools to replace your Tier 1 operators with an AI agent that can automatically, at machine speed, detect an incident, understand it, research it, come up with a solution, and then tell a human to make the decision to execute that solution? We have to think differently about the tools that we use. We need to use AI-powered defensive tools in the same way there will be AI-powered offensive tools. Number 3 is we need to shift security left. Now, what does that mean? Shift left is a common concept in the software development space. If you think about a timeline, we usually think about a timeline going from left to right as we explain a sequence of events. Well, shifting left just means we're starting to do things earlier in our timelines than we previously did. Vulnerability management is a great example. We used to have a habit of scanning for vulnerabilities after applications are deployed and then applying patches after the fact, but we now need to shift security left so that we're starting to scan applications during the security lifecycle process, during the software development process. So we fix code before it's released to production, so there's fewer patches and vulnerabilities that need to be found and applied after something's deployed. So are we thinking about how to shift left? This is the idea of a AppSec, application security teams that work together, DevSecOps, development teams, operations teams, security teams working together. We've had these concepts for many years, but they're going to need to work together at a completely different level moving forward because we have tools like Mythos out in the wild. And number 4 is governance and AI risk are not the same conversation in the past, and they are now. These are now the same conversations at a board level. So as an example, there are frontier models now that are incredibly powerful. Should everyone in your organization have access to those? What about software development tools? Do you want to standardize on which tools? Maybe Claude Code, but maybe not use something else? If you were to standardize on Claude Code, but your developers are uploading company source code into a public version of Gemini from Google, that could be a problem. Are you deploying AI tools in your environment for security? For instance, making sure people don't upload business files that have customer data into a public large language model. Are you isolating those to just an enterprise version of whatever LLM you like to use, like ChatGPT Enterprise? This is the idea of having an AI policy for your organization, where you're pre-documenting rules of engagement for your employees so they know how to operate in this new world that we're living in. I recently wrote an AI policy document for MicroAge a few months ago, but I'm finding that every month I have to edit it because there's new tools that come out, new concepts that I haven't even imagined yet. It seems like every single month. So an AI policy is going to be a living document for you guys. Listen, we're no longer living in a world where we're waiting on AI to start having defensive tools and for threat actors to use AI to attack us. We're there, right? So what I would suggest to you is if you're struggling with what should your AI policy be, if you're struggling with what AI security tools to put into place for what use cases, or how do I go from annual pen test to continuous vulnerability scanning, feel free to reach out to MicroAge at microage.com. We'd love to chat with you about it. We've got a whole team of security experts that can help you through that conversation and think about the tools that might be useful for your organization. So this is exciting. We're living in an interesting world. There's some threats. We're going to have to deal with them. But I hope this helps you think about how IT organizations can respond to this amazing new AI world that we live in. I hope this has been helpful. Stay tuned for our next Cyber Byte video. Thank you.